Hi, my name is Frankie Meggers and I'm in C rotation in history. And today I will be making the hardtack that most meals contained in the Civil War. So what you're gonna need is salt, flour, and water. You're gonna need 2 cups of flour. I'm just using the gold medal all-purpose flour. And then you're gonna need a half a tablespoon of salt. And you're gonna need a half cup to 3/4 cups of water. Now I'm going to take my mixer and mix the ingredients together, and I have water on the side in case it needs a little extra because the recipe called for a half a cup to 3/4 cup of water. So if it gets a little too hard, then I'll put a little more water in, but you're supposed to mix it together till the sides, till it doesn't stick to the side. Because of the type of mixer separating the dough, I had to start kneading it to bring it together. Okay, now that you finished mixing your dough, I'm going to put some flour so it doesn't stick. And I'm going to take my dough. So the dough is actually supposed to be harder because the cracker is hard. And the reason that the cracker is so hard rather than it being cracked easier is because they wanted to be able to transport it and they didn't want it to crack and stuff. So that is why it's so hard. And that is also why they used to cook it with soups and stew and meat, other things like that, or dipped it in coffee so that it wasn't so hard on their mouth, because some people would crack their teeth if they weren't careful. I'm also gonna put a little bit of flour on my roller pin so it doesn't stick, and then I'm just gonna roll it out. What the dough looks like after I rolled it, it's already getting harder, I can tell. And I didn't want to roll out too much, but I rolled it out so it wasn't too thick because they had it as a thicker cracker. When you are done rolling out your dough, we will start cutting, and they cut them in squares because that's the cracker form. Cutting them into squares. Those are the corners that were like around the edge, so we're making it more round. So I'm just gonna cut them. Okay, when you finish cutting them, this is what they should look like. That's their thickness. Both the Union and the Confederates, they both used hardtack as a food source. I'm going to take a fork and poke some holes in the cracker or in the hardtack because that's how those were. Supposed to have about 16 holes on each. All of them look like this. Forgot to preheat the oven, so I preheated the oven, and also each square. And I actually didn't read through all the instructions. And it says you're supposed to let them cook for 4 hours. So I'm just gonna keep checking on them and see how it works out. Also forgot to mention that the recipe calls to heat it up for 250, but also to cook it for 3 hours or 4 hours. So I actually preheated it to 350. I'm gonna check on it. So the directions are not clear. Like, they have like a lot of directions, but it doesn't say whether to not put baking spray on the sheet or so. I'm gonna put it on it. Now I am putting squares / rectangle shapes onto the baking sheet, and I'm hoping that they cook faster now that I'm baking it 100 degrees warmer. The recipe made 10 pieces, So now I will put it in the oven. Put the hardtack in there for 20 minutes to start, and I'm gonna check on them every 20 minutes. Just for fun, I have extra dough. I'm going to taste test the dough. It's just flour, water, and salt, right? A little piece of the dough is just made of flour, water, and salt. So I might as well. Thick, kind of salty, and plain at the same time. The hardtack was not ready after 20 minutes, so I put another timer for 5 minutes because it almost felt done. So after the 5 minutes was up, I checked on the hardtack and I decided to keep it in there for 8 more minutes because it wasn't ready yet. But some fun facts. So the reason why it's called hardtack is because when the soldiers first came up with it, it was really hard because they tried to make it thick enough so that it wouldn't break. And the reason why it's called hardtack is because it's very hard and it broke some of their teeth as they ate it because they weren't careful. Civil War food during this time for both the Union and the Confederates were given by the commissary department, and it was given to them uncooked, each of their rations, so they had to cook it. Soldiers would gather together in small groups to prepare each of their food every night, which were known as messes or messmates. In the Civil War, the food was not very good and it wasn't very good quality, and occasionally they would get berries and vegetables. Hardtack was usually the primary source for the soldiers, especially when they were low on food, because they could just snack on that or just dip it in their drink that they were having that morning, usually, which was coffee. And hardtack is basically bread for them, but a lot harder. If they're not careful, they could break a tooth. Hardtack is the most known Civil War food that most soldiers used, and most of them either softened it by soaking it in water or by dipping it in coffee or baking it with like different meats or dinner. So the hardtack has been in here for a total of 33 minutes. Yeah, the hardtack is done. The hardtack is they're all done, but they're still hot because I just took them out of the oven. Really get like brown or goldeny. Usually they just get hard. Hardtack has cooled down. Let me try to see. It's still a little warm. Back is a little brown. It's hard. Hard, but I think I need to let them cool off more, or I need to cook them more. So they're like this. They're hard on the bottom, but softer up top. Yeah, thank you guys for watching.